and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Brian and Drew. Good to have you guys. I guess the ladies don't need to discuss step 11. Don't know.
They've got it all figured out.
Yeah, they got it figured out. Maybe they can come next week and let us know what we missed. On this podcast, we talk about how Taoists, mostly the Tao Te Ching, we'll talk about the Chuanza and the Wensa sometimes and other particular quotes, how they relate to 12-step recovery and how, not from a philosophical point of view, but from more of an experiential point of view, how they resonate with us would be a way to say that, I think. Because when I first read the Tao, which I found in the 20 teens from listening to Spiritual Awakening Radio, James Bean, I learned a lot about meditation listening to his podcast. Actually, I tell the story of a thought came that I needed to start meditating. I'd been sober, I think about 8 years. Wasn't a day or two later, a sponsee I met with said, "Hey, I think I need to start meditating." I said, "Have you found any good podcasts?" He said, "Yeah." And this was one he gave me, with Spiritual Awakening Radio. Hey, Brian, you'll like this story. On James Bean's podcast on Spiritual Awakening Radio, he has that Bansuri music, right? Where it's got that Indian music. And I was listening to it one day, and my dog come up and he looked at it and he turned his head sideways. What is that? Rex is trying to figure it out. He wouldn't have nothing to do with it. He just turned around and left.
Along with Buddy.
I'm sitting there with my head going this direction, and he's sitting there looking and his head's going the other. That 45 degree, like he's trying to figure it out. It was funny. Before we get to our topic, which today is step 11, and how step 11 is seen in the Tao. We're going to talk about first how we work step 11 in our lives, and then we're going to talk about any quotes that we may have from the Tao that kind of relates. I do want to talk about a resource today. I talk about one resource that we have all free. Today I want to mention Sober Sidekick. It is a app that has over 1 million users around the world. I have some association with, started putting some of the sober meditations in the app. They were looking for content. And I think I shared that synchronistic moment. I went down to visit a sponsee that was speaking down Florida. I was looking for what to do with sober meditations, and there's a room of about 60 people, obviously all the tables of 5 and 7 people. He saved a seat for me. I sat down in the seat, and it was right beside the lady who was there for Sober Sidekick. So if that's not synchronistic, I don't know what is. I just wanted to mention the app. They've got some good things going for them. So if you're looking for another sobriety app, check them out at Sober Sidekick. One thing we're going to talk about today in step 11 is awareness. When you think of synchronistic moments, usually we think of when things are working out good for us or perceived good. This happened and this good thing happened for me. Just like the one I shared. That was something that I was looking for, and it was like an answered prayer. But there's times when synchronistic moments are the opposite. They're there to teach us lessons. I had a friend of mine that used to always say that the teacher's always silent during the test. I didn't like tests then, and I don't like them now. Brian, you have something?
I was just thinking this morning, I was reflecting on when I've shared this in meetings before, in-person meetings, that I've had things in my life that didn't work out. And I was pretty freaking devastated inside. If I'm going to get real honest, I had a big old pity party inside about it. At the end of the day, it may be an hour later or it may be 10 years later that I'm able to look back and say, thank God that didn't happen, because I would really have some damn problems. Without getting too far in the weeds, I was in the midst of my addiction, going through a divorce, and I was fixing to buy a tract of land and move my business and build a house. I just had all this plans. I just thought all that stuff was going to work out. I just knew it was. Granted, it didn't. I ended up backing out on it at the last minute, lost a little bit of earnest money, but that was a lesson I needed to learn because I think it would have turned into a damn disaster. I would have continued to burn it to the ground. That was long before I came in and sat down in a room. It's one of those things that there was something out there helping me do what I couldn't do for myself. I just couldn't see it at the moment.
Thank you, Brian. Let's talk about step 11 for a moment. Y'all can bring up any Dow quotes you have as we talk about it, of course. Sought through prayer and meditation, not medication, but meditation, to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God, not someone else, but as we understand God, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us, not for other people, but for us, and the power to carry that out. It's not the will of God for other people. That's not what we're to seek, which is what I thought I knew before I came in. What's best for them? I know what's best for them. I spent all my time pushing my family around for what I thought was best for them. All right, let's start with the first part. Sought. What does it mean to seek?
I think the first step to seeking is admitting that you don't have the answer.
Ah, that's good.
You can't get into the action of seeking something until you realize that there's something you need to seek.
Ah, that's where surrender comes in, right? With this step. If I think I know already, I've already lost the solution. That's what we hear in the Tao.
Being humbled,
Yeah.
showing up.
Just open-minded to the point that you maybe can take the attitude that I don't always know what's right or open to other suggestions. If you ever have a new business idea, I would have someone that I would let read and give me their opinion that knew nothing about what I was doing. Some things like that, especially during my first marriage. That's when I was doing a lot of different business stuff. And I'd write up a proposal and I'd give it to her to read. And I'd say, hey, what do you think about this? Knowing nothing about what I did, not involved in my business in any way. I was amazed at the good ideas that came out or the things that were wrong or good, all those different things that I had no idea. And she had no clue as to what I was talking about as far as the way it would work. But just overall, and I learned then that I need to always run things by someone who knows nothing about what I'm doing. And if I can be open and minded enough, not just they think that, but they don't know this and this, but be really open minded to others' ideas. I was amazed at the times that things came out that were very beneficial and saved me a lot of grief sometimes.
Isn't that a blessing? The difference in people in recovery. Like I've got people that I would have never crossed paths with that are totally opposite from me, but I'm able to sit down with them and hear their opinion on things or hear their life experiences and have a little bit of understanding.
Yeah. Seeking, the act of attempting to find, obtain, or achieve something. I don't really like that definition. How about open to finding or obtaining? I like that's a little better.
Yeah, I think the openness is a necessary part of it.
What are we seeking? What I see that we're seeking is to improve our conscious contact. What is conscious contact? Well, we know what conscious would be. It's being awake. It's knowing, being aware, awareness. And I think that's the essence of conscious contact. More than just, okay, I made contact, I move on for the day. I really think that's more about relationship than anything else. It's not so that we can tap into God, get our to-do list for the day and go on. And this is the way I used to think about all of that. You would pray, get your to-do list, and then you'd get rewarded based on how much of your to-do list you got completed. Something to that effect. Now it's a little different. It's a lot different. It's really waking up spiritually. Just like I drink a couple of cups of coffee in the morning to wake up physically, what am I doing to wake up spiritually? Is there something I need to do every day to get on cue? That evolves and changes over the years for me. It used to be the daily reflection and pray the Lord's Prayer, pray for the people on my resentment list, and then I was gone. I was off. It took total maybe 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Did not take long. Then I started meditating along the way. Now the process is a little longer. I have time for it, and it's not a burden. It can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour a day now. Just depends. Most of the time, I meditate 30 minutes a day right now. And that changes, but that seems to be where I've settled. At first, it was 20 when I started years ago, but I don't think it has to be that long. I think it can be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever's comfortable for you, because it doesn't matter how someone else connects. What matters is how, and when I say connect, awaken. It doesn't matter how someone else says that they make this connection and continue to awaken. It matters how you're doing it and what works for you. I have a sponsee that he does walking meditation. Okay, that's good for him. I'm not going to sit here and say because he doesn't do it the way I do it, it's not right. That's that closed-mindedness we were talking about too. That's another element of that. Now, how are we seeking?
For me, it's listening to that internal compass that I have, that gnawing feeling of this is what I need to do.
Brian, I think those daily practices that we have it's like tilling the ground. It's getting us ready for the real action of continuing and being aware and awakening.
Yeah.
That's sometimes I think we get the emphasis on the wrong syllable. We think this is what's important when reality, what it's doing is setting us up for what's really important, is preparing us. And for me, that is being able to live compassionately through the day. It's not about spending hours and hours in meditation. It's about how am I relating and treating other people, how that love walk that we talk about.
I got a quick little story that came to mind. So last Sunday, I got a friend of mine's not in recovery, solid guy. I struggle with some older gentlemen, and there is a little envy there. He's just a good guy. Anyway, used to be a neighbor. Long story short, he comes to me and says, man, I broke a part on my truck. He's an owner operator. I told Mike, I said, hey, I'll fix this for you enough to get you by. Then we'll figure out what's going on. Sunday morning, I'm up having my prayer and meditation. I've been doing it about 10 minutes. I get a text from him at 6 a.m. Hey, I'm up. I'm not in a hurry. Just let me know. And he wasn't. I call him and he says, yeah, I've been up since 4:30, yada, yada, typical Mike. So anyway, I just knew that let me go ahead and just cut what I'm doing short and let me take care of him. Long story short, I go over and pick him up. We go to my shop and I fix his part and I go home or take him home. And I just had this gnawing feeling that I can't leave him, that I need to hang around here. I hung around a little bit and helped him hold a couple of parts and put the things back on his truck. He was having a problem with this part. And all of a sudden, I just got to looking at it, and he's not a mechanic. And I'm not a mechanic either, but I'm far more mechanically inclined than he is. Then all of a sudden, it just hit me because he was talking about making all these changes to this part and this and that to eliminate his problem. And I just got to looking at it, and I said, Mike, the reason you're having these problems is this thing is out of adjustment. He looked at it and said, yeah, it sure is. I said, it's all the way adjusted in. It doesn't have enough travel. Anyway, we were able to adjust it and fix it. And just like that, everything is like it needs to be. And when I left there, it was like the best way I could start my day is being of service to him, because there is a little envy towards this guy. He's one of these guys you never know the things that he's done, but it takes years to get to know him. And he starts letting you in on little drips. Not bragging, but it's like I really admire that about him. I want to be that person, because I can guarantee you Mike doesn't give two shits. He's not trying to impress anybody. I admire that. It was a good way for me to start the day, far better than sitting there trying to pray to something that I'm not 100% sure that I believe in or who I'm praying to, but I'm doing it because it's working.
Thank you, Brian.
The last point that Brian made about being really impressed by the guy who doesn't try to impress you. I know I've seen that, especially as I've gotten older, is the people who I'm most impressed with are the ones who don't try to impress people. Kind of like how people who try to be cool are automatically not cool. It's the ones who don't try to be cool who just exude it naturally. I also like what Buddy said about tilling the soil. I used a similar metaphor for meditation not that long ago with a friend, telling him that for me, what meditation does is it's pulling the weeds from my garden. It's getting rid of the unhelpful things, the things that draw resources away from what I want to grow. Pulling the weeds helps clear the space for me to plant the seeds that I want to grow. Meditation by itself, that doesn't, just pulling weeds doesn't help your garden grow, because if all you do is pull weeds, then weeds are just going to grow back. It's the first step. Pull the weeds, clear out the space, and then you actually have to do the work of planting the right seeds and giving them nutrients, watering them regularly, and then going in and continuing to pull the weeds around them. I like the gardening metaphor, the tilling the soil. I like that.
Thank you, Drew. Now, this talks about the ways that we're improving conscious contact is through prayer and meditation. What I've heard over the years is that prayer would be more asking or affirmations, and meditation would be more listening. It was kind of like a seesaw. When I first came in, there was a lot of asking and no meditation. And as time has gone on, it's gone the opposite direction when there's no or very little, there's no asking now, but there is gratitudes and some affirmations and a lot of meditation. So the seesaw's gone the other direction, in other words. There's a lot more of the meditation. Let me run something else by y'all that I usually don't hear brought up with step 11, but so be it. Not only prayer and meditation, that's more of preparing myself for the real action of conscious contact. The actions of prayer and meditation awaken me to what the actions are I take to make contact and to have relationship. What I mean is, I see God as being love. So if God is love, what better way to make contact than to walk in compassion? The moment that I am acting compassionately, I am the closest to God as I understand God. That's how I look at it. I think that's why in recovery, we're over and over again, we're just told a lot of different ways. What's told on page 89 of the big book, first sentence of Working with Others, chapter 7. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. When you're taking selfless action, when you're there helping another, I don't think you can get closer to God than that very moment. That's why, Brian, you got the warm fuzzy when you help the guy. That's what you were doing.
The miracle is we used to be neighbors and we remain friends and we still go to dinner a couple times a year. And he looks at me and he says, man, let me know. I'm going to pay you something. I said, no, you're not, Mike. But deep down inside, I thought you ought to. All the damn money you got. But I knew that wasn't right. And he said, I'm going to pay you something. I said, you can buy an appetizer at dinner one night. I'll let you do that. Just that he kind of laughed. I'll just kind of let it go. I'm constantly straightening myself up as I go.
That's the thing, Brian. It's never, I don't think, maybe one day it'll be 100%. But just because we have a thought of something like that doesn't mean we did something wrong. If I have a thought of something of that nature, a selfish thought in the middle of something, I can just ignore it like I ignore thoughts at other times. And that's something I learned in meditation, that I'm not my thoughts. I don't need to spoil a compassionate or selfless act with my thinking, because I think we all do that. Thank you. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up.
I think Brian's story is a great example of this 11th step of prayer and meditation. The way I look at prayer, I think the word prayer can be limiting and off-putting to some people. I think how I would broaden it would be intentionally thinking wholesome thoughts, intentionally thinking kind, compassionate thoughts, just sitting and making time to actually focus on thinking good, wholesome, helpful thoughts. And meditation being, this is time when I notice unhelpful thoughts and recognize them as unhelpful, unwholesome thoughts and let them go away. I was thinking of Brian's story and how the first part of that, thinking wholesome thoughts, he thinks he's a good guy, I really admire him. The meditation part would be noticing when he has that thought of envy and recognizing, okay, I'm having this thought of envy. I'm just going to let that go. By consciously thinking, I admire this guy, and noticing envy thoughts and letting those go, that opens him up to be kind to him and be friends with him and help him out and feel good about it, rather than if he was doing the opposite of nurturing the envy thoughts, not thinking about how much he admires him, then he'd definitely act differently towards him. He would not help him out. Why should I help him? He's got everything that I want. He's got everything I could ever need. He doesn't need my help. In fact, he ought to be helping me. Why didn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? I think Brian's story is a great example of 11th step put into action. The part of it of thinking conscious, wholesome, helpful thoughts and noticing the unwholesome, unhelpful thoughts and allowing them to go away.
Thanks, Drew. The Buddhist Ametta-suttas, may you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and strong. May you be happy. May you live with ease and be free from suffering. I would consider that a form of prayer. That wouldn't be a Christian God prayer.
Yeah, I think that would fall under kind of the broad umbrella that I was talking about of like a conscious, wholesome, helpful thought pattern. That's a little wordier than just the word prayer. I'm not sure that we really have one word or even two words that encompasses that.
The word prayer has a lot of baggage at times. Because if I say prayer and you say prayer, it could mean two totally different things. So it's good that we get an understanding. In other words, there's a way we can practice this even if we don't believe in a Christian God of normal Christian belief kind of thing.
I think even having the thought, like if I hate to talk so much about Brian, but I like his example.
I love it. It's all about me.
Hey, we'll do the opposite in a few minutes. I got a list. So
no, that's okay.
This will be a 2-hour episode.
If Brian's sitting and consciously thinking, I really admire this guy, I don't think that would fall under anyone's definition of prayer, but I think it would fill the same purpose.
I was looking here in the 12 and 12, and it's talking about meditation and prayer, main channels to our higher power, connection between self-examination and meditation and prayer, an unshakable foundation for life. How shall we meditate? It says meditation has no boundaries. It's an individual adventure.
Thank you, Brian. And if we're looking at compassionate action, these are some questions that you might could ask if you're, of course, you've got the how can I respond with compassion, but even more than that, how would I like someone to respond to me if I were in that situation? That gets it down to the level of real application. How would I want to be treated in the same situation? I heard that somewhere, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Can I give what I think I would need in the same situation? How would I respond if I was not afraid? If I had no fear, nothing to protect, nothing to get, nothing to lose in the interaction, how would I respond?
If I were grateful for everything.
Because many times I've got the fear of maybe a people pleasing. What if I didn't have that fear? How would I respond? Might be different. Or I'm afraid I was not going to get out of that person what I think I should get. How would I respond? That takes openness. That takes letting go. And for me, that is God. That's when I make contact, is in the middle of that walking in compassion. If God is love, with me loving is where I will experience God. Of course, it's how we understand God, not how anyone else does, not how our mama understood God, not how the successful businessman understood God. It's how we understand God. Nor is it how our sponsor understands God. It's us. It says here we're to pray for something, praying only for two things: the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. I used to think what that said was pray for the will of God and God would give me strength to do it. I think it says something different now. The knowledge of his will, could it be? It doesn't say you're praying for the will of God. You're praying for the knowledge of his will. Could it be that the will of God is happening all the time, or the flow of the Tao, whatever name you want to put on it? This flow of the universe is happening all the time. It's happening. That would be the will of God, let's say. It's happening all the time. This flow is going on constantly. Maybe it's just our awareness of what is really happening. It's happening with or without our surrender. Okay? It's going. It's not waiting on us, and it's not dependent on us. But we have the opportunity to participate in it.
Without getting our knees scraped up.
Yes.
And elbows.
Yeah.
We can either flow down the river like we're on a tube, or we can go freaking clawing and fighting for survival.
And not dragging our feet on the bottom, trying to guide where we're going.
I think for me, it's a lot about recognizing the Tao is always trying to flow through me, and recognizing when I'm stepping in the way of it, when I'm blocking it, when I'm thinking I know better. This isn't the time to be compassionate. This isn't the time to be grateful. And this is a time to think, me, why me? This person should be doing that. This person should be doing this. This person shouldn't be doing that. When I step out of the way, like y'all said in the river metaphor, when I can just be on the river and let the river take me, then I have a much easier time, much better time than if I'm trying to fight the river and tell the river, no, you need to go this way, you need to go that way. Well, that doesn't work. So for me, it's all about recognizing when I need to get out of my own way and let the Tao flow through me.
And Drew, I think that ties into the power to carry it out, in that it's not that we have more power to do something we couldn't do, as in strength to push harder or that type of thing. But it's more of the ability to let go, the surrender, and the carrying out for me is stepping out of the way. It's not me pursuing something to completion, it's me stepping out of the way so it can happen without my excessive effort.
Or resentment.
Yes, exactly.
For me, like I know that I can be not happy about a circumstance, and I know deep down inside that it's going to be okay, but damn it, I have a hard time letting go of it.
Great thing is, Brian, we only have to do it in the moment. If we
That's
have
it.
that big situation come up, if we can just break it down to this moment, let it
Yeah.
go right now, not worry about what we think is going to happen down the road or how broke
Yeah.
we're going to be because of this or
Yeah.
whatever our dire situation is, just leave that on the shelf. And if I break it down to this moment, no matter how bad the situation appears to be in my head, it's a lot easier and it's palatable if I break it down to this moment instead of adding all the rest to it. I'm not in bankruptcy court right now, even though that's where I think in those negative financial situations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've got all of that I'm carrying into the moment, you know?
Bridge down by the river.
Yeah. What was it they say? I'm future effing myself. That's never good. Never good.
I had a friend that would talk about turning his catastrophizer on.
That's
Like I warm my catastrophizer up and then it's just off to the races.
I want to read a verse from the Chawansa. How deep is thou? Page 73. The master said, Thou how deep, how still its hiding place. Thou how pure. Without this stillness, meditation maybe, metal would not ring. Stone, when struck, would give no answer. They're striking the stone, they're ringing the metal, but there was stillness first, right? So there's action involved. That's what I'm saying. The power of sound is in the metal and Tao in all things. When they clash, they ring with Tao and are silent again. Who is there now to tell all things their places? The king of life goes his way free, inactive, unknown. He would blush to be in business. He keeps his deep roots down in the origin, down in the spring. His knowledge is enfolded in spirit, and he grows great, opens a great heart, a world's refuge. Without forethought, he comes out in majesty. Without plan, he goes his way, and all things follow him. This is the kingly man, one who rides above life. Think of that kind of like a pendulum, where you're above the pendulum. The swing goes on, but you're above that. This one sees in the dark, hears where there is no sound. In the deep dark, he alone sees light. In soundlessness, he alone perceives music. He can go down into the lowest of low places and find people. He can stand in the highest of high places and see meaning. He is in contact with all beings. That which is not goes his way. That which moves is what he stands on. Great is small for him, long is short for him, and all his distances are near. That's awareness. That's conscious contact with what is. That's step 11.
I like that all his distances are near.
I like the one, I misquoted a lot, but that which moves is what he stands on. What's already moving, but you can't do that without awareness. Is that not the case almost all the time? Things are just happening, and my job is more of stepping out of the way and being able to notice that it is anything else. And then the action to step, though, is going to have compassion involved in it because the way of the universe is virtue. That's what the Tao Te Ching is the path of virtue. So there's virtue involved.
My inner Eeyore can just, God, I've made so much progress on that. I could just ruin anything. I would pick out 1% that wasn't to my liking, and I've ruined the whole damn thing. And thankfully, I'm not there anymore. I can tell when I'm circling the drain and it's like I pull myself out, I'm able to shine a light on it and say, it's not that damn bad.
We can even take negative situations. This isn't about laying down and doing nothing or letting everybody run over you. You can fire an employee and do it compassionately. You could sue someone without having a resentment against them if you needed to.
I had a deer hit my truck several months ago, and I've got two little things that I'm waiting on. And it's gotten to the point now where the body shop has ignored me. I paid them my deductible with a credit card, and I just finally decided that I was going to have to dispute it. And man, I wanted to burn them down in a text. I even ran it by my wife. I said, here's what I'm thinking about sending them. And it was kind, but it was firm that, hey, it's been too long. On this date, I'm disputing this charge if you can't make good on it. And they never even responded, which did get under my skin. Made me want to go ahead and instead of doing it Friday, it was Wednesday. I was like, these MFers, I'm going to freaking just do it today. Get the preemptive strike on them. But I didn't do that. I followed through. And conflict is difficult for me. But I just had to sit and follow through with what I said I was going to do. Be firm.
We can take those situations that are conflicts and stand up for ourselves without being angry about it. I had a sponsee that lived in California during the pandemic. He was saying, oh, I don't want to wear a mask. He was wanting to fight the whole thing going on. He says, I'm going to protest. I said, go ahead. I said, but you don't have to be angry about it. I said, if you don't want to wear a mask, set $800 aside because that's the fine and just be willing to pay it if you have to. But he was angry and he couldn't get what I was saying. I just quit saying much about it after 2 or 3 times. It was about a year later. We were talking. We met every week and we were talking. He says, I've decided I just don't have to be mad about this. I can do, like, he didn't even remember me saying a word to him about it. And I said, that's good. I'm glad you came to that. I never said anything, but we don't have to. Sometimes we have to work through those things is my point. But that's
on our own time.
Yeah. And that's part of finding God in that situation. That's part of conscious contact in an area of life that we were not experiencing before. So, yeah, that's good, Brian. Thank you. Anyone got a couple of Dow verses to go with this? I have one. We've been talking about 22, I think, a good bit with this series. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only by being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. Step 11 is about being lived by the Tao, being lived by compassion. Instead of you practicing compassion, let compassion practice you. That's the last stanza, Stephen Mitchell, verse 22. Now I have one more.
But I was reading about 81. It says, sages do not accumulate. And this is in the Derek Lynn. Sages do not accumulate. The more they assist others, the more they possess. The more they give to others, the more they gain.
Here's verse 63, second stanza, Mitchell. The master never reaches for the great, thus she achieves greatness. When she runs into a difficulty, doesn't say she stops and asks for more power to overcome the difficulty. Instead, it says she stops and gives herself to it. She gives herself to the difficulty. She surrenders. She doesn't cling to her own comfort. Thus, problems are no problem for her. Not that she has no problems, but they're not a problem anymore.
I'm hearing some faith in there.
I'm hearing a lot of letting go. I'm letting go just as hard as I can.
Yeah, that's always funny. Where's that at? It's faith without works is dead.
Yeah, that's the New Testament.
Okay. I'll be damned quoting the Bible verse.
You quoting Bible today, Brian?
I did. Some of it did sink in.
I'll make sure and take that out because I know you don't mean to be quoting the Bible, so I'll make sure that's not in. For us, we flip that where we, instead of our actions following our faith can follow our actions. We have to have faith in what we're doing. Really, we just have to have faith enough to do it. We don't even have to believe it's going to work. That's a great thing. Results are not dependent on us believing they will work. Unlike the Christian perspective. By the way, I'm going to church with my grandson tomorrow. I can enjoy that now somewhat, though. I don't have to sit there and fight it. Say, that's BS. It's this way. Blah, blah, blah. But they're just speaking another God language. It's not quite foreign to me, but it's not my native tongue.
It's all pointing in the same direction.
And the further you get up the mountain, those paths that started on different sides of the mountain, the further you get to the top, the more alike they start to look. She gives herself to the difficulty. Wow. Isn't that what praying for the will of God could mean? We give ourselves to what's going on. We don't fight it. Love and tolerance of others is our code, and we have stopped fighting anything and anyone, even alcohol. It's the only reason I can be loving and tolerant is because I've stopped fighting.
All about stepping out of the way and letting the will of God or the will of Tao flow through you.
Just letting love work, Drew. Just letting it happen. And it's going on the whole time. It's up to us whether we participate in it or not, is my thinking. I can be miserable or I can have peace and joy. Which do I want? That's really the question.
For me, it's a lot about observing or being judgmental. If I'm with my wife and I'm just observing her, I'm listening to her. She's talking, but I'm judging what she's talking about, or I'm getting in my mind about she should be doing this or doing that instead of doing what she's doing right now. If I can just be present rather than getting caught up in my judgments about this should be that way, this should be this way, this shouldn't be that way, then I know I'm much more present and I'm much more likely to let that will of God, the will of Tao, flow through me in that moment.
This whole walk has a lot to do with stepping out of the way. I think that's the surrender to what is may ultimately be what this is all about, is regaining the present moment, which as human beings we have lost because of our fears, real or imagined, mostly imagined, actually almost all imagined. We've lost the present moment, unlike the rest of nature. So I've heard it said that we become fully human when we become enlightened. It's being fully human, which would be being present more moments of the day without attaching our fear and all the things that we attach that take us out of the moment, every one of them. Good conversation today, guys. Thank y'all for hanging in there. Anything else before we close? All right. You guys have a great week and hope to see you next week for step 12, and then we'll be finished with this series. Thanks, guys. Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.